Welcome to Astronomy Daily, your source for the latest news from across the cosmos. I'm Avery.
And I'm Anna. It's great to be with you. Today we start with a more comprehensive look ahead at the cosmic wonders 2026 has in store for us, from moon missions to major eclipses.
That's right. We'll also dive into a mind-bending discovery from the Voyager probes at the edge of our solar system and discuss Russia's new Earth observation satellite.
Plus, scientists may have found interstellar tunnels in our galactic neighborhood. And finally, we'll cover the rapidly evolving commercial space race with updates on China's reusable rockets and the transformation of Florida's historic space coast.
It's a lot to cover, so let's get started. Anna, why don't you kick us off with the astronomical forecast update for 2026?
Absolutely, Avery. 2026 is shaping up to be a monumental year, especially for lunar exploration. NASA's Artemis program is sending the first astronauts to fly by the moon in over 50 years.
And this is the mission that will pave the way for the actual moon landing, right?
Exactly. This crew, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, will do a flyby of the far side, which could give us our first good look at areas the Apollo missions never saw. But they're not alone. We're also expecting a caravan of robotic landers from commercial companies,
including Jeff Bezos' Blue Moon lander. I read that thing is going to be huge, taller than the Apollo landers.
That's right. And companies like Astrobotic and Intuitive Machines are also heading back, while Firefly Aerospace is aiming for the moon's far side. Even China is targeting the South Pole to search for ice.
The moon is certainly getting busy. What about other celestial events? I heard there's a big eclipse coming.
There is. On August 12th, a total solar eclipse will cross over the Arctic, Greenland, Iceland, and Spain. Totality will last just over 2 minutes. And for those at the other end of the world, there's a ring of fire eclipse in Antarctica in February.
Sounds like a year for the eclipse chasers. And we also have those planet parades to look forward to.
We do. At the end of February, 6 planets, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, will line up in the sky just after sunset. Mars will be the only one missing, but it joins a different 6-planet parade in August.
Incredible. It seems there's something for everyone in 2026. From lunar missions to planetary alignments.
It really does. And that's just the beginning. Let's move on to our next story, which takes us far beyond the moon, to the very edge of our solar system. Avery, what have the Voyager probes been up to?
Well, this is a fascinating one. Voyager 1 and 2, NASA's longest-running missions, have detected a searingly hot region of space where the sun's influence ends. Some are calling it a wall of fire.
A wall of fire? That sounds intense. What exactly is it?
It's a boundary zone at the edge of the Heliosphere. That's the bubble created by the solar wind, where temperatures spike to between 30,000 and 50,000 Kelvin. This region, called the heliosheath, acts as a sort of thermal barrier.
That's incredibly hot. How did the probes survive passing through it?
That's the key part. While the plasma particles are moving at extremely high velocities, creating that high temperature, the particle density is incredibly low. It's basically a near vacuum, so there aren't enough particles hitting the spacecraft to transfer significant heat.
Ah, that makes sense. High energy, but low heat transfer. So what does this discovery tell us?
It's revising our understanding of how our solar system interacts with the wider galaxy. But the temperature spike wasn't the only surprise. The magnetic field data was also unexpected.
Really? How so?
Scientists found that the magnetic field lines just inside the heliosphere aligned with those in interstellar space just outside of it. They also discovered a leakage of particles through this boundary, suggesting the heliosphere isn't a perfect shield against galactic cosmic rays.
So our solar system's protective bubble is more permeable than we thought. The Voyager probes just keep delivering incredible science, decades after their launch.
They certainly do. Now, let's bring our focus a little closer to home. There's been a significant launch from Russia recently.
Yes. Russia launched a Soyuz rocket carrying a new radar Earth observation satellite called Abzor R1. The launch took place at the Plesetsk Cosmodrome, a site often used for military missions.
And what makes this satellite so important is its radar capability. Unlike optical satellites that need clear skies and daylight, radar can see through clouds, smoke, and darkness.
Right. That gives it a huge strategic advantage for surveillance, environmental mapping, and disaster response. This mission really underscores Moscow's push to expand its own space-based intelligence capabilities, independent of any foreign partners.
So this is a big step for their sovereign space program.
It is. The Abzor R series represents a new generation of homegrown Russian radar systems. It's a dual-use technology serving both military and civilian needs, and it's a clear geopolitical statement in a world where remote sensing is more critical than ever.
A powerful tool indeed. Well, from geopolitical moves in orbit, let's turn to a discovery that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. Anna, you mentioned something about interstellar tunnels.
I did, and it's just as cool as it sounds. Using the eROSITA space telescope, scientists have detected narrow structures of hot plasma that seem to extend from the bubble of space surrounding our sun out into the wider galaxy.
Wow, so these are like corridors through the interstellar medium. What could have formed them?
The leading theory is that they were carved out by ancient supernova explosions. Our solar system sits inside something called the local hot bubble, a 300 light-year wide cavity that was itself formed by supernovae about 10 to 20 million years ago.
Right, I've heard of that.
Well, scientists have long theorized that these bubbles could be interconnected, forming a kind of network. These new X-ray observations from eROSITA are providing the first real evidence that these tunnels or chimneys might actually exist, connecting our local bubble to other regions.
That's incredible. It paints a picture of our galaxy's structure that's much more complex and dynamic than just empty space between stars.
It really does. The data also showed a temperature difference between the northern and southern halves of our bubble, suggesting it's not a uniform sphere, but has been shaped by asymmetrical forces. It could be that these tunnels act as pathways for cosmic rays and gas to flow through the galaxy.
A galactic subway system of sorts. Amazing. This brings us to the commercial side of space, which is also creating new pathways, albeit to orbit. The reusable rocket race is heating up, and it's not just SpaceX anymore.
That's right. The Chinese rocket startup Landspace has made it clear they're inspired by SpaceX. They recently conducted the first reusable rocket test by a Chinese entity with their Zhuge 3 rocket.
And they've been very open about modeling it after the Falcon 9. The deputy chief designer even called it a high compliment to be referred to as the Chinese Falcon 9.
It's a major paradigm shift. China's state-led space program has historically been very risk-averse, whereas Landspace is embracing the test, fail, iterate philosophy that SpaceX is famous for. Their first test actually ended in a crash, but state media covered it openly.
Elon Musk himself even commented on it, noting that they've adopted aspects of both Falcon 9 and Starship. He acknowledged their design could potentially beat Falcon 9, though he added that Starship is in another league.
It shows how quickly the global landscape is changing. With Beijing support and plans for massive satellite constellations, low-cost, reusable launch is a top priority. It's also worth remembering that SpaceX had 2 failed booster landing attempts before their first success in 2015.
A very good point. And speaking of launch infrastructure, our final story looks at how 2 other ambitious companies are transforming the iconic Space Coast in Florida.
This is really exciting. Stokespace and Relativity Space are rapidly building out launch sites at Cape Canaveral. Stokespace is at Launch Complex 14, which is a site rich with history.
That's the pad where John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth back in 1962. It's been inactive for over 50 years, and now it's being prepped for Stokes' fully reusable Nova rocket.
Exactly. Aerial views show the launch pad is nearly complete, and right next door at Launch Complex 16, Relativity Space is making massive upgrades for its much larger Terran R rocket.
The progress there is really visible. They've installed a towering water tower for the deluge system, added huge new propellant tanks, and are pouring concrete for the launch mount.
It's a perfect example of how the Space Coast is evolving, reviving historic sites to become hubs for the next generation of spaceflight. Stoke is targeting a first launch in early 2026, with Relativity aiming for late 2026.
It truly shows the accelerating pace of the commercial space industry. And that brings us to the end of our show for today.
We've journeyed from the celestial events of 2026 to the edge of the solar system and seen how new technologies on Earth are poised to reshape our access to space.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Avery.
And I'm Anna. We'll see you next time on Astronomy Daily.
Astronomy.